Welcome back. It's been a while since I've done a product review on this channel. That's because generally I have all the chess things that I need. I have a few different chess boards, chess pieces, and several chess books, some of which I haven't finished. But recently a product was released by a fairly famous chess player, and as soon as it was available in stores near me, I had a hard time resisting the impulse to purchase the Gotham chessboard. You can see that it is branded with Gotham Chess, and it is a folding chessboard. It has two small buckles here and hinges on the other side. I've had a few other folding chessboards like this. In fact, I still have one that's about, 10 or 15 years old. One difference between this and those is that not only does this have little magnets under each square and little magnets in the pieces so the pieces stay in place, but inside it's not just an empty cavity where the pieces rattle around. There are cut out pieces in foam inside where the pieces are stored. Now I still have the styrofoam here from the shipping, but if you move the styrofoam, there's little cut out places where the pieces rest and they're firmly in place. They're not going to fall out. And I just kept the styrofoam here to add a little bit extra layer of protection and to keep them from getting scratched up. Now, I'm not going to say it's perfect. In fact, I'm going to mention the downsides right up front. For one thing, the little buckles or clips here feel a little bit weak. I think the manufacturer went about as cheaply as they could on these little clips. Now, mine are doing fine, and I tend to treat my products really carefully, but it is marketed as a travel set. So if this is in a suitcase or sliding around in the back of the car, those things might end up not lasting. And as you can see in this photo here, where I have helpfully circled in red, there are a few imperfections. The outside borders of the playing squares don't quite match up when you unfold the board and lay it flat. And also the two smaller circles show there are a couple of indentations. Now, I don't think that happened during transport, shipping, or anything like that, because this was pretty well packaged, as you'll see in my unboxing video, but perhaps during the machining of the board or the machinery that attached it together, there were also a few other scratches that aren't shown here. But as I said, I have another folding wooden chessboard, and it had some imperfections too. And the newer model of that one feels rougher and has, you feel like you could get splinters off of it, whereas this one doesn't feel like that. Now, pretty much the rest of it is excellent. You can see as I pull it out of its box here that it was pretty well protected during shipping, transport, and whatnot. There are cardboard protectors around the corners, and there are styrofoam protectors across the buckles. And as you already saw, there was the styrofoam sheets protecting the pieces inside so that they're not scraping against one another. They're also offset, so even though each one sticks out just a little bit, when they close, all the pieces go between each other so they're not scratching against each other when the board is closed. Someone spent a lot of time and attention designing the interior of this case. And as I showed you with my board here, the pieces are firmly attached into their little cutouts. Takes just a little bit of pressure to pop them back in there and a little bit of pressure to pull them out, so you don't have to worry about them just flying out whenever you open the board. And as I already said, the pieces and the board itself have magnets installed. So here, when I have the pieces set up, you can lift up the edge of the board and shake it. And a few of the pieces slid a little bit, but none of them fell off the board. Now, I will admit I didn't hold it upside down and shake it, but I held it up at a pretty steep angle in different directions and, rattled it. The kind of conditions you might expect if, a friend or bystander bumps the table, or you're trying to play it in a car or train, something like that, and there's rattling movement. The pieces aren't just going to go flying like other similar wooden sets. Now here you see a direct comparison between the Gotham chessboard and the previous wooden chess set folding board that I had. I just have a few pieces out here for comparison's sake. Now the Gotham chessboard is slightly larger. I think it's about 15 3/4 inches across, whereas the other board was just about 15 inches. And the interior playing square surface area was just over 13 inches for the Gotham chessboard and right at 12 inches for the other one that I had, also from a major retailer. Now you can see that the design of the pieces is very similar between the two sets. The Gotham chess pieces are slightly beefier and shinier, not to mention slightly heavier because they do have the magnet inside. Other than the magnet, I don't think they have any weighting. They don't feel really heavy. They just feel slightly heavier than those previous wooden pieces that I had before. Here you can see the two kings, which these are the two most identical pieces between the two sets, in my opinion. They're very, very similar in size and shape. But again, the Gotham chess piece is just slightly wider, slightly beefier, and shinier. The two bishops, again, the Gotham chess piece is slightly fatter, a little bit heavier, has a slightly wider base. The knights have a huge difference, in my opinion. Not only is there a little bit of extra carving for, distinctive look on the Gotham chess piece, but it feels like it's about twice the volume of the other piece. The rooks are pretty similar. Again, just a slight difference in size, slightly wider base for the Gotham chess piece. And you can see on the interior of the other board, there's no cutouts. The pieces just rest in there and rattle around. And so I just took some of these resealable bags to keep the chess pieces and checker pieces in. So when I close up the box or the board, that the pieces aren't going to fly out when I open it. Also, that one doesn't have any latches or buckles. There's just a magnet inside the wood, not for the pieces, but just to hold the box slightly closed, although it opens pretty easily. But to compare it to perhaps a more common-sized board is this tournament-sized chessboard that I usually play on and solve puzzles on when I'm not doing it on the computer. And you can see that the Gotham Chess set is not quite as large as that. Now, if it was, it would be a little unwieldy to travel with. A big wooden box as large as that other set. However, you can see that the squares are almost the same size. They're just slightly smaller on the wooden set, but there is a pretty big difference in the pieces. And of course, those plastic pieces are weighted. I bought the triple weighted set, so even though there's no magnets, those pieces stay in place pretty easily, and you can see that there's a pretty big difference in size as well. Although, as you see here, the squares on the Gotham chessboard are large enough to support those larger plastic pieces if you wanted to, switch them out or play with those instead. They're just a little bit more crowded in there. And if you prefer the feel of wood to the feel of plastic, whichever way you go, there you go. So as you can see, it was slightly bigger than the other wooden fold-out set that I've had for 10 or 15 years, and slightly smaller than this slightly newer plastic tournament set that I have with the roll-up board, which is also a travel set because I bought separately a bag for it. You roll up the board and slide it in there, and then there's little pouches to hold the pieces. Now, depending on how you travel, this may not be great for a travel set. For one thing, the corners aren't rounded. So if this is in your luggage, it might catch on a piece of clothing. It's not really sharp, like I'm not getting scratched or splinters here, but it might catch on clothing or something like that. You maybe want to wrap this in a towel or something. And of course, if it's sliding around in the back of your car or tossed in the bed of your pickup, it's going to get scratched up and dented and dirty and that sort of thing. But it is going to hold the pieces in place. And if you have it folded out and playing while traveling, as you saw, the magnets are going to hold the pieces on the board, so when you shake it, they're going to be fine. But the wood feels really smooth. The finish is nice for what it is. It does seem to be made of actual wood, at least the case of the box. I think the playing surface is actually a veneer, possibly on top of MDF. But overall, I would give it 4 out of 5 stars. It only costs slightly more than that other wooden set that you saw there, and that one has come up since I bought it several years ago, because they still sell that same brand at the same store that I bought it at, and I checked it recently. There's only a few dollars separating these, and honestly today, if I was making the choice between those two, I would choose the Gotham Chess set. Obviously, if you have a chess set and you don't need one, please disregard this, but if you are looking for one, or looking for a portable one that you could fold up and store away easily, this might be the one. I've now given my older fold-up wooden board to my son, and I had to roll up that roll-up board and plastic set that you see so we could have room to set up our Christmas tree. So I'm keeping this Gotham Chess set handy on a shelf nearby for anytime anyone wants to play, or I want to solve some puzzles, manually out of the Polgar book that I've been looking through. I have this board ready. Takes less than 60 seconds to get all the pieces out and set them up, and obviously about 60 seconds to put them all back in there when you're done. So if you haven't already gotten this board and you were considering it, hopefully this will help make up your mind. As always, thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time.